Hello, hello, hello. What's up, folks? It's Pete coming to you all the way from Birmingham. Last night I was in Liverpool. Had to think about it for a minute. Just did 2 shows in Liverpool. The Philharmonic Hall there with Classic Rock Show. We had a lot of fun. And today I'm in Birmingham, so of course home of Black Sabbath. And I just went and visited I'm going to show you a couple photos. There's the wall that's been completed now. That's like a mural wall. There's like a Tony Iommi mural, and you can see that like it's signed there beside his face, and signature there, and then they've put glass over the signatures and protected them. So that's pretty cool. And saw that today. And then there's an Aussie exhibit, which you saw if you saw the thumbnail for this video, which I assume you did. Going on at right beside the town hall. I'm not sure if I guess it's a gallery, art gallery. And it was cool. Just like, some awards that he's received and things, and, gold records and that kind of thing, and platinum albums and stuff like that, where they're just paying tribute to Mr. Osborne. That iconic photo, of course, where he just looked so happy at the last show there, right before he passed away. It's amazing. So anyway, nice to do that in Birmingham today. And one of the perks of touring, of course, is you get to do such things. It's like, oh, I'm here today. Let's go see that. So drinking some tea right now because I've already had a flat white and a latte. So I'm fired up. And what else we got? Let's see who we got here. It's probably small but mighty crowd because, of course, super early on the West Coast, unusual time. I'm just reading the comments here. Let's see. Are you imagining to get across to NAMM again this year? I'm not actually going to make it this year. Not going to make it this year. We've got gigs kind of, I don't have a gig on Friday, but I've got a gig Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. Would have been impossible this year. Next year I will go for sure. I'll schedule it in starting from this January so that I can be there for the next show. Anticipating having a PT50 at the next NAMM. By then, that amp should be there. But I do have a couple things coming this weekend. So if anybody goes, I'll be putting a couple things up later in the week. One of them is a kind of refreshed version of my original signature model with some different sort of cosmetic stuff going on, as well as 1 or 2 different features. So I guess I can say that now. But of my original signature model with sort of the double humbucker version. So it looks really great. I love it. But yeah, it's just kind of a same guitar, but with just a couple little cool things. And then I'll have something else that I've done that I'm keeping under wraps until later in the week. That's just kind of it's very preliminary kind of, but I think it'll be at the show. And that's another neat kind of guitar gadget. So that's fun. But yeah, I'll go next year for the PT50, so that we should have it there and be ready to go and everything like that. And yeah, it seems like it was hard for me to get there last year. I had the release of the PT traditional 90 guitar last year, and I wanted to be there for that. Brand new guitar model with different pickup and all that stuff. And so I thought, oh, I better make it over for that. And I did it, and they were kind enough to let me go for a few days from here. But it was no easy task. I remember flying out of Edinburgh, having to go to Heathrow, then change planes to Heathrow, go to LAX, land there, get all the way down to Orange County. It's all a blur, to be honest, like how that all happened. I don't remember. I guess I took an Uber, LAX down to the show, and then I went to the show on Friday and half of Saturday. I think I got there Thursday evening, went there Friday and part of Saturday. Saturday morning and stuff. And then I had to be back on a plane by Saturday evening by 6 p.m. out of LAX to get back over to do a gig in, I don't remember where we were. It was a small town in the UK. And I made it. It was cool. Flew in and did the gig that day, same day I arrived. But yeah, next year I'll do that again. I needed a year off from that journey. It was an extra flight and the hotel and everything. It ended up being, you can imagine it was a few grand, to make it happen and stuff. And I thought, I just time wise and everything this year, don't think I can make it work. So that's that long-winded story. What else we got here? We've had some really fun shows. It's been great. We got some new tunes in the set. That's been really fun. Let's take a few questions here. Question. I have a speaker isolation room in my studio. Cool. Currently running 4 different 212 cabs to get great tone. Sometimes wonder if I'm missing out on a 412. Probably not in any really good. I mean, a 412 is what I might. They definitely have a sound. It's a good way to experiment and answer that question would be to, like, for example, go to the Celestion impulse response library and try like the 212s and 412s with the same speakers, because the mic positions are exactly the same. So if you were to be able to dial up some of the Celestion IRs, in an IR loader, use a load box with a head or something, and listen to the 212s and then listen to the 412s with the same, greenbacks, V30s, and then ask yourself, am I missing out on anything? That would be probably a way that I would do it. And if you feel like, oh, I got to have that sound, then, or just, borrow one from somebody and try miking it up and see if in your studio, if it sounds that much appreciably different with speakers that you like and everything. But that'd be a great way. That's a great thing about IRs, is that you can quickly try things and know, am I even interested in trying a Celestion A type speaker, for example, or something that, that you'd normally have to buy and install, and would be with IRs, you can get a great idea of whether or not you like it in the virtual world first. Are you using VP4 on your live rig? I was using it. It's on my other board. So the board that I have at home right now, that's in my studio, it's kind of my 3/4 size pedal board, my smaller board. I was using it on that board, the VP4, for my touring in Japan recently. But on this board that's here with me in the UK right now, I don't have it. I've got the SD3000 EVH and the H90 doing all my stereo effecty stuff. Yeah. I do want to try that AM4 unit at some point, though, and everything seems cool. So, yeah. This is interesting. Eddie says, were you in Dartford this week? I played there yesterday, the Big Tent. Enjoy Birmingham. We did. We played there. It's pretty good, that venue. Like there's this theater in, is it Dartford? You thinking the same? I think it must be the same. The tent venue, right? In in Dartford. Yeah, I know. Yeah. So the Orchard Theater, right? And they're doing theater renovations due to old concrete and stuff. They had to bring it up to code and stuff, and now it's stretched on longer than it was supposed to. I think renovations of this theater in Dartford, which is basically home of the Rolling Stones, known for that, I think, right? But anyway, so they built a temporary venue that was only supposed to be for a year, but it's stretched out for a couple of years now that they've been using that temporary kind of tent venue. But it's pretty nice. Like, for a temporary venue, boy, did they ever do it nice. It feels like you're playing a festival a little bit, like a backstage makeshift kind of. But it's done really well with proper bathrooms and showers, and there's nothing wrong with it at all. It's pretty good experience playing that place. And the theater definitely needed some updates. Yeah. So sorry you're in Birmingham. It's a dump. It's not a dump. I like Birmingham, actually. The downtown area I quite like, and it's one of the nicest places that we play on the whole tour, to be honest. We play the Birmingham Symphony Hall. It's about a 2,500 capacity, and it's quite beautiful. Wish I had taken a picture of the venue, but it's a really, really nice place that we play here. And this is my dressing room. Basically it's a bit of a mess, but I've got piano in my dressing room over there. That's nice. I got my own bathroom right over there with a shower. I got a couch right here. I mean, what more could one want? It's like a hotel room, basically. So, yeah. Let's see. Hey, Jen, what's up? Such a long time since I popped in. Great to see you, Jen. Congrats on your surgery. Yeah, I feel like it's like, I'm trying to look at the camera right now in a way that where I can go watch this later and see how it looks actually. But I've been a little bit disappointed in the position that my right eye has kind of settled in, to be honest. But I think that's on me, and I have a bit of work to do, maybe with some vision therapy or something, because I think my brain is just telling it to go where it used to be, is what's going on. And I knew I'd be fighting that, but I can kind of play with it. Like if I'm looking at the camera right now, I kind of try and do this. But as I go back and watch this video, we'll see what that looks like later. It's a little weird. You guys are my guinea pigs right now, but I'm trying to, it was funny. What happened was I wore my glasses for about a month because I couldn't put contacts in, so I just had glasses. And I think that I was actually sort of with glasses in because I have what's called a balance lens in my right eye, and it's not my full prescription. It's a little blurry. I think the eye was just kind of in a better looking position, actually. And then as soon as I put my contacts in, it was almost like my eye was trying to revert back to where it's always been for my whole life. It was just so weird. But anyway, we'll see what happens, with it. And I just, because I'm out here on tour, I can't really, to do vision therapy, which may be of some benefit or no benefit at all for me, but I kind of want to try it. You kind of have to be in one place at one time. And the reality is I'm not going to be doing that I've got this tour and then I've got Satchvi tour in the United States afterwards for a couple months. I'm not free until like July. So it's just fallen in this place in time where it's just kind of tough for me. If I was home and in LA, I would be going on a regular basis, I think, and trying to do some classes to try and strengthen, try and do these kinds of things where you're like, I'm trying to utilize both eyes and strengthen the one that's just never pulling for the team. But anyway, we'll see what happens with it. So, but thanks, Jen, and nice to see you here. It was great to see you in Germany last year when I was there with Satchvi. What's that guitar behind you? This is a PT Traditional 90. And this is the kind of a prototype, basically, because there's one thing that didn't end up on this version of the guitar, which is no loom inlays in the side. This guitar has black dots. And one thing I realized that on these roasted necks, sometimes I really want the loom inlays, which are the light up glow in the dark inlays that have been coming in really handy on. So I mainly play my red one live because of that. And then this is it's a wonderful guitar. It's an awesome guitar, but I've been using it mainly as my warm up guitar and in the dressing room, just because I can see the neck on the other one better. So that's the older body red one that I have. All the features are the same otherwise. And it's just got the glow in the dark inlays, which are really cool. Not on the top of the neck, they're just on the side dots. And so when the stage goes dark before a song and then a count off comes in and I'm supposed to come in on one and it's completely black up there, I'm always like, moment of panic. And then it's like, nope, I can see where I am. I'm good. So, yeah. What else we got here? Scott says, nice to see you live. I've watched so many of your videos. Thanks for watching, man. Appreciate that. I got my tickets to see you in Dallas. That's what Satchvi says, Braxall. That's awesome. We'll see you there. We will see you there. And have you seen this new Floyd Rose replacement called the Rockin' Tune, where you can switch out the bridge and nut on the fly for different tunings? I have not seen that. That's news to me. That's news to me. I will have to check that out. Love playing the Symphony Hall. Great venue. Are you playing York Barbican? I don't know that we are. That's a great question. If I just did York with Satchvi last year, but let's take a look at Master Tour and see, because I kind of want to say we're not on this tour in York. So Cambridge, Malvern, Nottingham, Gateshead, basically Manchester, right? Newcastle, Shrewsbury, Llandudno, don't know where the heck that is, London, Salford, Dunfermline, Never been there. Oh, that's Scotland. Dunfermline. It's hard for me to read right now, too. My astigmatism contact's turned. It's a little weird. Anyways, hi, Wycombe. Wycombe? I'm saying that right. Cardiff, Basingstoke, Guildford, Watford, Northampton, Harrogate, Glasgow, Coventry, Leicester, Peterborough, Poole, South Queensferry. God, there's a lot of gigs on this tour. Edinburgh, back up to Scotland. Are you guys getting tired just hearing this? Darlington, Ipswich, Salisbury, Shrewsbury, Brigg. Never been to Brigg. Scunthorpe. And then we go to Finland for one show in Helsinki. And then we do Luxembourg, Ghent, Tilburg, Sittard, Arnhem. That's it. It's a lot of gigs, though. Still got a lot to go. A lot to go. My goodness, I miss my cats when I read that. What else? Through the chat here. You sound very busy, says Scott. Yeah, so busy. It's true. Looking forward to the show tonight. Can you give us a quick rundown of your effects setup so I know what I'm listening to? Well, but yeah, basically it's a two PT100s, two 412s, greenbacks mic'd up, Shure wireless, and then on my board I've got a Sir Woodshed compressor. I've got a fuzz from Crazy Tube Circuits. I've got the Mobius. I don't know that I'm using the Mobius on anything on this gig, actually. I've got a Phase 95 that I'm using on some stuff. And then I've got a unobtainium pedal from Crazy Tube Circuits that I use for both the Klon style drive as well as the Dumble style drive on the other side. I use them on different things, sometimes together. What am I missing? Oh, one thing I added was the EQ from Hell from this company Calgary that I'm forgetting the name of, but it's basically a Furman, the old PEQ3, and I've got that on the board for some sort of 80s hard rock stuff to boost into the front end of the amp. It sounds really cool for like cutting upper mids and cutting mid range. I have a video on it coming out soon. Quite like it. It's a good pedal. And then I've got the EVH SDE 3000 EVH for stereo delay and the H90 for reverbs and pitchy stuff. That's it. That's the whole rig, basically. Musicom Lab switcher, Musicom Lab parallelizer for parallel effects, the time-based stuff. Have you seen the new Boss GX1 modeler? I have, just to see it, online. Only $229. Yeah, it looks like it does a whole bunch of stuff, and it's a reasonable price. Let's see here. Looking forward to Satch Vi in Connecticut this spring. Will you be hanging around the merch table after the show? Probably not. I love meeting people, and if the opportunity's there, I will always do it. They run a tight ship, that crew, and they like us to get in the van afterwards and go. So that's kind of like generally what's happened, and it's generally the band, like myself and Marco and Kenny, are summoned to get in transportation, and then and we have to kind of be there first, and then Steve and Joe generally hop in about just after us, and then we all jet. And that's kind of the there's a protocol for like transport in that band, and it's a very just, shall we say, that's the way they roll. And I don't, that's how it is. So that's what I do. I do what I'm told. And yeah, that's how it works. So Steve and Joe do kind of, they've got VIP packages and stuff like that before that the rest of us are not a part of. That's kind of they go and they do a Q&A and that kind of thing. And it's just sort of just because of the way the whole thing is structured, I don't end up meeting a lot of folks on the tour. So that's just how it is. So I love meeting people. So if you ever see me out and about, please come up and say hi. But there's generally not, like in this band, it's just very different. Every band's different. In this band, we have a merch table, and we generally go out and do a signing and meet and greet and hang around after and stuff like that. And just how it is. So, But I always really enjoy meeting folks. I'm digging adding loom inlay blocks to the side markers for my guitars, big glowing rectangles. Yeah, I just do the dots. It's like black around the outside, and then with a white center, and that white center becomes glow in the dark when you light it up with a flashlight. Pretty cool. Do you feel roasted necks make a difference? Yeah, I do. I think they're more stable. I mean, I'll put it this way: Sir won't do a bird's eye or figured maple neck of any sort without roasting because of stability issues. So he's a firm believer in the roasting and the getting the moisture out of the wood and stuff, and that sort of solidifies the wood in a way that he feels comfortable using it for necks. So I definitely think there's they almost feel different, I guess. I don't know. There's almost like a hardness or something once they're roasted that just seems to be a part of the whole thing. But they definitely have a look, that kind of chocolatey brown thing that happens with roasting, and they're kind of depending on the batch. They're more or less of that, the roasting, how long they're roasted for, I guess, and stuff. They can turn out a little darker, a little lighter. I've got roasted that aren't that dark, and then I've got some that are, quite dark, like this one is. So it just depends. But I definitely think there's a stability thing. I still like regular maple necks. I mean, I have no problem with regular maple. But I did have a many years ago a Strat. It was a custom shop Strat, bird's eye maple neck, and that neck developed a twist over the years. So there's something to it for sure, I think. I mean, it had I was able to have it plecked, but it had a twist in the entire neck, where one side had a hump on it and the other side had a dip. On the fingerboard, and I had it plecked, and then it played okay, but it always bothered me because when you'd look down it still looked like there was, like, I couldn't tell by sighting down the neck about the curvature of the fingerboard because it had been plecked into the frets, the fix for this twist, and it's not like you could see it. What it looked like was, it looked like there's a problem with the neck, and that always bothered me. So yeah, a little bit. What else we got here? Let's see. Oops. Sorry, I just forgot to do one thing. I'm going to go and do that right now. And YouTube. Bear with me 3 seconds. Done. Okay. What else are you guys talking about here in the chat? Do you think NAMM will have any game-changing gear? I mean, there'll be some cool stuff, for sure, from what I know. I would say, I definitely feel like this, that I've got something that's interesting, that's, I don't know if it's game-changing, but it just is a cool thing that puts things together in a way that haven't been quite before, that I think is a great tool. So I'm excited about that. Game changing, I guess we'll see. We'll see. What was that comment right there? Saw you guys last year in Manchester, and your tone was better than Steve Jones. Thanks. I mean, it's all, it's all relative, like what different people like, but I appreciate you saying. I'm glad you liked it. I worked really hard on it. I mean, really dialing it in for that tour, making sure the presets were there and that my amp was dialed in just like I liked it and stuff for those particular songs, and appreciate it though. Thanks. In Luna, what are your go-to EQ and compressor plugins? I haven't used Luna for a while, although it's great. I kind of want to get back into it, but I'm just so used to using Logic that it's like, but in Luna, first of all, the having the Neve summing or API summing on every channel and the kind of the built-in tape on every channel is really amazing for glue and just bigness and the sound of it. It's just a great sounding DAW. Great sounding DAW. But some of my favorite, compressors and EQ. I mean, I would probably use What I tend to do is for more surgical stuff, I'll pull up the SSL channel, whether I'm in Logic or anything, I'll pull up one of those SSLE channels or whatever and use if I'm just doing standard kind of like I've got a dirty guitar tone and I want to dial it in, I want to do a high pass and, maybe take out some, unpleasant mids or boost 100 hertz or boost 8K or something to get it to cut. All that stuff I'll generally do with an SSL channel. Sometimes it's fun to use the API vision strip for EQ. I don't tend to do a lot of compression on post-electric guitars. If I do, it depends on what I'm going for, Like I still love just good old, LA2A plugins and stuff like that, especially on bass, nice. I like the UA LA2A. If you want to get just a great, beautiful, like you're doing a ballad or just a straight up, basic tune and just want a great bass sound, UA B15 into an LA2A, from UA, even, as a tracking kind of setup is great. Or, you want to warm up a DI sound and get an ampy sound. You could copy the track and have your DI track still, and then put a B15 and a LA2A on the other channel, plug in. That sounds great. So for bass, just love the LA2A. It just puts everything right forward and fat. It warms everything up and makes everything sound better. Or a good 1176, the API 2500, I think it's called, the stereo compressor. I use that sometimes on like drum bus. On the master bus, I'll tend to use the SSL mix bus compressor. And just 2-to-1 and getting, 3-4 dB reduction on the loudest stuff with a pretty slow attack. I tend to use the 10 millisecond or 30 millisecond setting on SSL. That'll be standard on mix bus on a lot of stuff that I do. And just with a little bit of, because then I'm generally using a mastering. One thing I've been experimenting with a little bit, for those of you out there that do some recording, the Logic AI mastering. I hate to say it, but AI, when used not to make music, but when to do things like mastering, is for quick bullshit mastering, I call it. That's not like the going to a mastering person. It's pretty great. Like, it just analyzes your track and then does stuff to it, and it'll look at the track and what's deficient and what's got too much going on, and it'll EQ, and then you can blend in that EQ as much or as little as you want by percentage. So, it'll start off with it at 100%, and then you can drop that down to wherever you like. And usually I'll end up with it somewhere around 30, 40, 50, maybe as much as 60% or something with this EQ shape that kind of, and it tends to, cut out mids and, warm up the, just kind of gnarly mid-range frequencies and stuff. It'll just change that stuff and then add some clarity on the top end, maybe a fuller bottom, stuff like that. Works really well. And it's got a bit of a mid-side thing going on where you can make your track sound wider or pull it in and feature the center more, stuff like that. That's, limiting, exciter, stuff like that. So the AI mastering thing, it's pretty cool, a nice time saver. I used to use the Brainworks mastering plugin a lot. Still great, works really good. And that's just more use your ears and, dial it in with some simple controls and stuff. But anyway, there you go. Okay, what else have we got here? Let's see. Really nice guitar plugin for compression, though. Since you were asking about compression, EQ and stuff, it's actually the John Mayer, the EQ and compression that's in the John Mayer Neural plugin is really nice for, that plugin is great for just, quick and easy, nice, clean guitars. It's terrific. Yeah. What else? Matthew says he lived in England for 7 years. Love it. Yeah, it's great. I love coming here. I mean, the people are really nice, and it's nice to be here right now for sure on many levels. When will you come to Poland? We were there with Satchvai. I actually did Poland. I feel like it was right around my birthday, but I can't remember now exactly. I remember AC/DC was playing there the same night as us. so I didn't get to see the show, but I did see the show, but not in Poland, unfortunately. But um, anyway, but yeah, I was just in Warsaw for the first time in about 15 years, and that was last summer. So thanks for all you do, says Stu. Thank you. Thanks for being here. We'd be working on any new songs for a future CD release towards the summer. I'd love to get into that. For sure. Yeah. Thinking about July, more towards the summer. If maybe nothing comes up touring wise, I'm ready to chill for a second because I've made some money. I can sit back a little bit and relax and just work at home, to work on some YouTube stuff and maybe record some songs. That sounds nice, right? So maybe in the summer is what I'm sort of looking forward to for that. What's that beautiful acoustic Jesse Smith has? I think it's a Taylor that you're talking about. It does sound really nice. We do a Stones tune and Jesse plays in an open tuning on it with a Taylor, and it's a terrific sound. Yeah. Yeah. What else have we got here? Let's see. Let me know if I don't think I've missed any super chats. I've got the comments zoomed out, so I'm trying to look at them. It's just easier. I'm kind of sitting far away from my computer. And sometimes I may miss a super chat if it comes in like that, but I don't think I have, so not concerned. Let's see. Am I finally getting to see you play live at the Satch Vi show in Toronto? Well, yes, you are, I think. Yeah. Been a fan since the Badger 18 demo days. Come on out. Looking forward to getting back to Canada and playing for sure. Yeah, I got that one gig in Toronto. I wish we had more. If you were doing an 80s gig and could only have one on your board, a micro pitch or Boss Dimension C. Oh, both are great. Micro pitch is, I guess, something that I use all the time. I've got a kind of a subtle micro pitch. It's just mixed in at like 20% and, maybe -5 and +5, I think, or something like that. It's not the full -9, +9 Eddie thing. That's just really nice. I use it all the time. I use it on this set on things to just have a wider sound. I don't think you'd listen to it and go, oh, it's obviously modulating or anything like that, whatever, an obvious kind of pitch or, still chorus or whatever. It's pretty subtle, but it does get wider and bigger. So I guess I'd have to say, I do it with the micro pitch, but a Dimension's a great sounding pedal or rack, whatever the original. Have you got to mess around with Nuno's new guitar line? I have not. I learned a little bit more about them this week. It looks like they're basically like a Washburn, they're really similar. I think it's the same guy that makes the US ones. I don't know who he's got doing, there's obviously different price points. I looked and there's some that are $3,000 and some that are like $1,200. So obviously some are, kind of import. He must probably be having them made, either Indonesia or Korea, something like that. I'm not sure where exactly, and then he's got the same luthier, I think, that was in charge of, the Washburn stuff, American made stuff building. So I'm sure they feel really, really similar. It's a distinctive look, that guitar. It's obviously the Nuno guitar. It's a little like playing a Van Halen guitar, striped series, I remember them back in the day feeling quite good, the Washburn versions with the big cutaway and the neck shape was comfy and stuff like that. And the Floyd, and he's basically been rocking that for, 35 years, that same sort of guitar since around 1990 that I can remember, that's interesting. Curious if you ever got your hand on Ibanez Iceman 420. I haven't, no. Skeptical on Made in China. Yeah, it's down to the individual guitar. I'd probably play it, and if it feels good, I wouldn't worry too much about it. I feel like these days, China's made leaps and bounds in manufacturing everything. So, same with Indonesia with guitars. So, yeah. So see if you can get your hands on one, see what you think. But I haven't played one. Are you guys doing Steve's Attitude song? I can't, I can't take liberty to discuss set list ever, got to be careful there because it's supposed to be a surprise, always new tour. But having said that, I don't even know because I don't know. I'm not sure what exactly what we're going to tackle in this next version of the set. That's still to be determined. I'm hoping by about beginning of February I've got a good idea so that I can start working out here, because no matter what, it'll be challenging. It was last year, so I had to work hard to get ready. And the reality is I get back off this tour around the 11th or 12th. That's back in LA around the 12th or 13th of March, and then I go into rehearsals not much more than a week and a half later, so I don't have a lot of time once I get back to LA to kind of get the rig together, whatever I'm going to be using, as well as learning whatever. I'm hoping I can do some learning out here in February while I'm on the road. Yeah. London to Salford and then playing a gig the same night. Do you get enough sleep and rest before getting on stage? Yeah. We travel in a nice big bus, and I happen to be able to sleep quite well on a bus. At least I think I do. Some days you're more tired than others, but a lot of people have problems sleeping on a bus. I am not one of those people. I tend to wake up once in the night, to maybe get up and go pee. and other than that, I'm good on a bus. I don't sense myself constantly being awake or having problems. It's almost like it rocks me to sleep and I'm good with it. Pretty comfortable bunks on this bus that we're on. Quite like, it's a little bit of institutionalized living, I guess, but I'm pretty comfortable with going and climbing into that thing every night. And I look forward to that moment. Job well done, good show, you hung out for a while afterwards, talked to everybody, had a good time. But 1 a.m. you're like, or 1:30, you're like, I think I'm ready to get in that bunk. And that's a pretty nice moment in the day every day. Go climb in there. And then I generally wake on my own around maybe 9:30, 9:45 every day. If I don't go to bed till 1:30, something like that. Just kind of like 8 hours later or something, I'm generally up, and then I roll in the venue and come in a room like this. And it's not always like this. Some days we're sharing dressing rooms. This is pretty deluxe, just so you have an idea of what, this is a good room right now. So like I said, I've got a piano in here, and I have my own bathroom in there with a shower, and this is it's like I've got a couch where I can take a nap if I want to. It's pretty great. And you get a room like this all to yourself. We play a lot of theaters, so a lot of times there's a nice amount of dressing rooms that are pretty well equipped, because they're more for plays and theaters. You've got bigger casts and things, so they need to have enough dressing rooms for the amount of people for gigs like that. So that's what I find, is that I get a little more, you tend to get the bigger rooms and stuff in these. And this is a really, really nice venue, Birmingham Symphony Hall. It's a good venue. So this is a good day, where even if I didn't get enough sleep, I could, I got enough time in here where I could take an hour nap if I wanted to, and that'd be 100%. So, there's a super chat right there. Haven't caught a live in a while. Hope the UK is treating me well. Sorry about the weather. Yeah, the weather's a little crap this year. It's true. That is not wrong, but I appreciate the super chat. Thank you. It's definitely colder and rainier, and I've been here where we barely got rain, like maybe 2 or 3 days out of January and February. I could remember rain in previous years. This year it's like every second day, pretty blustery. But we've always had some nice days. I mean, yesterday in Liverpool was a nice day. Most of the day was fairly blue skies and not that cold. So it's just up and down this year, I guess, is what it is. Thanks for that super chat. Appreciate it. Did you reference any live versions to learn Crazy Train, or just the original studio recording, or maybe you learned it decades ago? It's a little bit of all of that. You kind of nailed it. I probably learned it in like 1983, at least the basic riff when I was a little kid, and then practiced the chords. I mean, I've always kind of known that riff too since the 80s, but the solos and stuff, I'd never really, the tapping lick at the beginning of the solo I knew and stuff, but I could never really play it. Now, Randy, so on this tour, when I say it's a little bit of all of what you said, for this tour, I went and I checked out how Randy would play it live, which basically there's not a heck of a lot out there of him playing live. But I went and watched the after hours show, you know, the one where they're in studio and playing like super loud, and he's got a great tone. And on that, he actually modifies the solo quite a bit from the studio version. He doesn't quite play the same licks in a couple spots. It's a little bit simplified. It still sounds great. I mean, what he's doing, but he obviously wasn't afraid to make it a little bit more playable live so he could perform. And he doesn't do the ripping, you know, triplet lick at the end, like he plays something else that's you know, slower and a little bit phrasing wise easier to grab. I try and go for the record version. It's really hard. And last night I finally kind of got it. You know, the hardest part about it is to play through the lick. I modify one part of it because what he actually did, I think is something like, I think I did this last week. Didn't we talk about this last week? I don't have a pick. Wait, my other jeans here probably have a pick. So the actual lick, I think, let me see if you can see this or not. Yeah, so the actual lick, I think, starts on E flat. And it does the... That's the time. So so it's 16th notes, and then it's triplets after that. So E flat, E, F sharp, A flat, right? And then it goes like that. So it might be, but it might also be, yeah. So my question with it was, does he stick with a straight sort of minor? Okay, wait, let me get this. That's it. So well, I'm not playing the phrasing right. Okay, so that's kind of the, you know, but there's one note in the middle where it's either that was my question of whether he plays a D, you know, or an E flat, because it's a natural minor, the scale, you know, F sharp natural minor. It's not Dorian, but I question whether he actually, when he's playing the riff on the record, I remember I was like, does he actually play, you know, the E flat or the D, and is he kind of, you know, fudge Dorian for a second in the lick? But anyways, so there's this. Right. And so what I did is, instead of doing that, I'm changing one part to make it easier to play under my fingers. And I make it so that I can do it all with 3 fingers, because I'm just faster with 3 than I am with when I put my pinky in there. So I go like this. And when you're playing really fast, it sounds exactly the same as the record, basically. But, sorry. So what I'm doing is I'm on the D string, and I just repeat the same lick twice, where I'm on E flat, E, F sharp. So and then you need to get way up to that, you know, bend that B way up. So that's what and that's right after. Sorry, it's hard to hold the guitar like this. That's how I do it. And it's almost exactly like the record, but just one note. Really, it's like one or two notes different, I guess, the phrase, because I decided to stay kind of, in that, I guess, 14th fret position in order to complete the lick and be able to play it fast enough live. But the other part that's really hard to get to is that bend, way up there on the 19th fret. So. And I hit it last night and I was like, yes. Sometimes I'll go, that video that's up of me on Instagram doing it, I'm doing that. So I don't play the exact same thing right at the end of the solo that's on the record, but the majority of it, I get the basic color, and it's there. But anyway, that's how nerdy I get about this stuff. I also noticed, so on the After Hours show, if we want to get really, when he goes instead of going, that little, because that's hard to do actually up to speed. So he goes, or maybe he goes, I started going, right, like that. It's all little variations, and none of this stuff really matters that much for the audience. They don't care, but it's basically. Oh, and the other thing that I do, and I noticed actually Zach does this too when he plays it, is the tapping lick at the beginning is actually the only tapped, that lick, right? I tap the next, whereas Randy would just go, right, and do that and trill. But I love the tapping with this hand because it sounds crazier. And I notice Zach does that too. And now this lick, or that part. I also do a super fast, almost like harmonica sounding, trill. And I went and watched. This is well after I learned it. Decided I was going to play it using, just tapping with my right hand. Zach does that too. I noticed that there's a version of him playing it, kind of like demonstrating the solo and how he does it. And he does that too. I was like, we thought alike on this. Just that, it sounds crazier and it's fun and it's easier than doing the Randy when he did it in the After Hours goes like this. He doesn't do the faster, the faster trill that's kind of out of time. He actually just goes da 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 with the left hand. And I just think it's which is great. I mean, he's the guy who wrote the solo, but it's like, that's how I do it. So, and yeah, so it was a combination of like, trying to play the right phrases, the basic framework, have it all in there, but also how can I play it and be comfortable with it with my, limited technique that I do or whatever. And add a little bit of my own flair to it or whatever, and make it, make it your own a little bit, have fun with it. So that's that. Okay. It's 7. Oh shit. Guys, I gotta go actually. I'm gonna have to call this one quits pretty quick here because we've got sound check in 5 minutes. It was a little shorter this week than last week, but it was great to come and hang for a bit. Let me see this super chat. Haven't caught a live in a while, says T-Top. Hope the UK is treating you well. Sorry about the weather. Oh, I did that one already. Sorry. Did I miss any others? Maybe this one. Peter, cheers. Coffee, can't wait for NAMM. Maybe see you there. I'm sorry, I won't be there. I was mentioning that I'm not making it this year. Next year I'll go, but this year I just can't get over there. So it's hard when I've got tour every year. Can't do everything, but I will go next year for sure. Schedule it in for sure. Yeah. Yeah, the timing is interesting, starting with 16th and then going to 16th note triplets of the Crazy Train solo. That is true. It is. Yeah. 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 What else we got here? Yeah. Products will have NAMM loading. Worth waiting for. Wanting a multi-effects. AM4 sounds amazing, but fractal posted products. you know, you could wait a year, you could wait 2, who knows, you know, you might as well use something now. And then, you know, if something else comes along that you want more later, you know, get into it. I guess I'm saying, cause they're also kind of inexpensive enough that, that, you know, that you could sell later and, you know, you'd probably, maybe you'd lose a couple $100, but you'd make, you know, a bunch of money playing gigs with it in the meantime. Ha! Yeah. 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 What else we got here? The comment is hiding your hands. Yeah, sorry. Hopefully you can just hear the notes, but you know, I'm basically playing F sharp Dorian, you know, licks, you know, and you can kind of hear the, you know, it basically the you know, Crazy Train is it's not a mystery. You can go out there and find all kinds of ways to play it, but I found some really, I will say this, I found some really wrong versions of it. But yeah. Oh, thanks. Yeah, that was cool, and how a pro breaks down thinks about an iconic part like that. Thanks, I appreciate that. Yeah, this was short and sweet, but maybe it was worth it for that. Yeah, you don't have to, as long as you get the gist. Nobody's gonna. We're harder on ourselves than sometimes we need to be. I think, you know. We got to remember most of that crowd out there ain't guitar players, and they don't know that solo note for note. They just know the basic framework and kind of the overall tone. So as long as you're pretty close, I think, you know, and then you add your own flair, and you got to remember you're performing. So you're supposed to be up on stage, like rocking out, not standing there. Every note's got to be perfect, or the person in section 213 row E is going to know that you know what I mean? That's never the case. It's more important to and hit one note and put your arm way up in the air and do a big vibrato. Always. All right. Take that for what it's worth. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. I'll see you next week for another Sunday Live. Similar time, you know, super early LA time, 7 a.m., something like that. And a little bit later in the day on the East Coast, and nice and comfortable in the afternoon for you folks in Europe. Everybody have a great week. Be nice to one another. Love y'all. Take care. We'll see you next time. Sorry, I got to run. Time to go get on stage. Bye.